Welcome everyone to Coach Unboxed. This is a project by Unboxed Sports, an agency elevating professional tour tennis coaches on and off the court. I'm Yannick Yoshizawa, and today I'm joined by Peter Lucassen, a Dutch pro tour coach now working with Botic Van de Zandschulp. I probably messed that one up, but Peter is a former ATP player and also USC, University of Southern California, collegiate player, where he has helped the USC Trojans secure NCAA Division I championships as a player and as a coach. He's also the founder of Baseline Tennis Academy and has coached several top 30, top 50, and top 100 players. Welcome, Peter. Thanks for joining us. Congrats on adding a new member to the family.
Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Are they already training? Do they have a tennis racket in their hands?
Yeah, my oldest one is 2, and he actually loves his golf club more than his tennis racket right now, but it's all good. Anything he wants to do is fine, or they want to do.
Good. So, and then right now you're at a tournament, so you're getting some sleep.
Yeah, now I'm away from home for a few weeks, and at home there wasn't much sleep, so right now I can sleep through the night, which is nice, but hopefully my wife doesn't listen to this because she's the one that's working really hard with the kids right now.
Yeah, I'll say that we recorded this at 3 a.m. just because you're so used to it and you were thinking about the kids.
Exactly right.
So we'll make sure that we added that part into it. Well, before we get to Peter now with 2 kids and traveling as a tour coach, you have quite a rich history in tennis just because you did a little bit of everything. To start, tell us, how did Peter Lucassen got into tennis? Was it family? Was it friends? Was it accident? Tell us about your early beginning.
Yeah, my family. Just my parents played at the club close to the house. And since I was young, like 5, 6 years old, I came with them to the courts and they put me into tennis lessons since I was 6 years old. And then from then on, I loved it right away. I loved other sports too, like soccer and field hockey. And I played those for the first couple of years as well. But already soon when I 9, 10 years old, I started to play tennis every day and started to practice more and more with regional federation and things like that when I was young. So yeah, just with the family.
Nice. And now, Peter, as you were growing, was tennis something that you were just good at it and you were like, I'm just going to play this sport just because I'm good, I have control all over it? Were your parents just pressuring you to play? How was that transitioning to focusing solely into this sport?
I think mainly right away with doing different sports, I was not really pushed into tennis or anything, but probably tennis was my favorite sport because I was better at it than maybe soccer or other sports. So maybe that's why it became my favorite. But yeah, my parents were not never. They came with me. They brought me to a lot of practices, etc. But I was always the one pushing that I want to play, that I want to go to the courts more and more. So that was the fun that I always wanted to play.
Nice. I mean, and you were quite good. You became number 1 in your country. You won Dutch national championships in 14s and 18s. You were top 50, more accurately 36 junior in the world, which is quite impressive. How was playing at the very high level in Europe such a difficult continent to play? You have so many good players. When was it clicking, or when was that perspective to you? They were like, wow, I can become a professional tennis player. How was that transition in your junior, very young years?
I was always surrounded with a great group of players with like Timo de Bakker, who's my age. We were always, since we were 10 years old, 1 and 2 in our age group. And then around us, we had players like Robin Haase and Igor Sijsling, who made it for years into the top 50 as well. So in that age group, we had these guys and that we practiced with. We went to the tournaments, all the ITF tournaments, under 14, under 18 together. We practiced in the federation together. And then transitioning into that, they started to do really well right away after juniors into the futures. And that's where I kind of didn't do as well as them, but I love tennis so much. And for me, it was like college then the right pathway to go, which was great. That the opportunity was still there, even though I had the dream to become a professional tennis player, like my friends that I was been training with every day. Doing this college pathway was the best thing that could happen to me because I could still uh, you know work on my game, play tennis every day, play at a really high level with the studies. So I'm really happy I took that path.
And talk to us about that college transition. And I don't know if you have a different mindset now, but college tennis has grown so much just from promotion. And I see more and more players coming out of college and becoming professional players. But back then, there was in some places a culture of, wow, you're going to college, you're sort of giving up on your professional career. Did you have that? Or did you have the mentality of, I know this is a good pathway? Meaning, did you go to college still thinking I'm going to become a professional player one day?
Nah, I think most players do because they go when they're like 18, but I was already 19, and I still maybe wanted to be the best professional player I could be. But I also wasn't really sure because I wasn't going as quick as my friends, like the Barker, Seisling, Haas. They all won futures and stuff already. I wasn't. So that's why college was just a pathway where I could become the best tennis player at the time and then see what's going to happen next. But I think for any player right now, the college pathway is one of the best pathways there is, because to come into a group of another like 6 to 10 guys that play such high level, you have great coaches, there's all the structure behind that was just amazing to have.
Yeah. And I mean, you end up in probably one of the most traditional, one of the best schools as far as all sports go, but also tennis. You ended up at University of Southern California. Tell us about the recruiting process. Did you just get a call from the coach one day, like, hey, I see you're good, let
Uh,
come here and join us, or how was
No,
it?
I was pretty lucky actually because I think it was October. I was playing futures. I was ranked like 500 something, and I was not pushing through as quick as I was hoping for, but thinking about other opportunities too. That's why college came into my mind. And then, I mean, I had to go in January, which was not easy to find schools, but then I had this agency in Holland that was helping me looking for schools, and somehow this agent was in contact with USC, and they had a spot open in January. Talked to other schools, and I took a visit for a few days to USC, Ohio State, and Baylor, and I ended up choosing USC, which I was lucky to go. But it helped that I had a good ranking at the time. That's why they recruited me. So I was like 500.
Yeah.
So that helped. And yeah, I was lucky to go there in such a great team with great players, great coaches. So that was amazing.
What were the things that you felt that was missing maybe when you were on the professional and then having that college experience? What were the things that you felt that you developed? Did you think that college really made a difference on certain aspects of your life as a player, as a human?
I think the biggest thing that brought me was the taking ownership of yourself. I mean, you come into a team, and of course the coach wants you to become the best player you can be. But at the end, the most important thing that the team is going to be the best team they can be. So practice, it's important that I'm improving. Team also needs to improve. So in that way, I need to take really ownership that I am doing things right, because the coach, yeah, he will look out for you just to look out for so many other guys too. In that sense, so many juniors, their private coach, seeing them hit every single ball, seeing her do every single rep of a warm up. No, now you have to do also things on your own. You have to go out to the coaches. Hey, can we do this? My schedule because of school is going to be like this. Can we work? So I think the biggest thing that helped me was taking ownership of my own path in that way. And I think it helped because I loved it so much that it wasn't hard. But I think that was really important from after like my
Yeah.
junior years.
I mean, of course, you were loving so much. You were winning. a lot, so that always helps.
Yeah.
How was that? How was
I mean,
that
it's lucky
moment?
to
I mean,
come into a team with Stevie Johnson and Robert Farah, who became really successful players. Our matches with them, singles, doubles together, you're up pretty much 3-0. So it's a great teammates to have.
how did it feel winning that first NCAA championship?
I mean, it was amazing. I still watch sometimes the video. It's from 2010 and in May and in Georgia. And I mean, the atmosphere was amazing. I've seen a lot of tennis matches, live, big matches, but in a stadium like that with two crowds going after it, it's like a really a big Davis Cup atmosphere. And to be part of
Yeah.
it and playing it when we were actually 2-0 down to Georgia, and I ended up making the 3-2 for us. So it was just, yeah, it's one of the best experience I've had on a tennis court, sharing with everybody from the team.
That's awesome. I can only imagine. That's amazing. Now you going into winning couple more championships, not as a player. How was that transition? You're finishing your player part at USC. What were you thinking as you're about to finish your eligibility? Were you thinking like, do I want to go pro and try it again? Were you already thinking, well, I love this team environment so much, I want to stay here? What was that thought process?
So I only got 2 seasons of eligibility, and I still had to finish up my studies. And coach asked me to, stay around with the team and be the third coach for the team while I was finishing up school, which was great. The coach asked me that to be still part of the team. And at that time, you had players like Stevie Johnson and other players who in the fall played a lot of futures and stuff. And then I started to go with them already to tournaments, and I started to coach a lot of juniors in the area. And that's how I really started my coaching career, basically. That's where the head coach, Peter Smith, he kind of guided me into that and gave me a lot of opportunity.
But before that, let's say it sort of fell in your lap. Did you ever think you were going to become a tennis coach?
I mean, the people know me as the person that can be on a tennis court 24/7. That's where my happy place is. So yeah, maybe there was something for me. I mean, in all the junior years, the kind of the futures before college, when I was always traveling with Timo de Bakker, it was really good. I also felt like I was always there for him as a support, because I mean, he was doing better than me, and also we go to all the tournaments together, and I felt like I was there for him, helping him. So that's maybe already there. I had like the support system as what you need as a coach. Of course, I was a player then myself too, but maybe that's was in my system already.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, to backtrack a little bit as you're transitioning to all of this in your life, before, finishing your professional career, heading into college, you also started your own academy, right? Baseline Tennis Academy. How did that come around with all these different things going on? Was it something planned, or it was also just this, well,
No,
I want to spend more time on tennis court?
it kind of happened while I was, still finishing up school at USC. I got to know a lot of the juniors in the area, the really good junior players. So I started almost every weekend. If there was no team matches, like in the fall, whatever, I would go to all the junior tournaments with players, and parents saw me with one or two kids. Then they asked me, and I was really lucky to have a family in LA that I really worked closely with the kid. The kid ended up going to University of Washington. Now with this kid, a lot of other kids came along, so that's how it grew. So yeah, it was great.
And I guess one of these juniors and one of the players was Ernesto. right? Escobedo.
Yeah.
Did you talk about a little bit about the story? You started with him when he was still a junior, and he went all the way to top 100, which it's always amazing to see this transitions when you as a coach are able. How was that feeling for you as a young coach? All the respect, you're still very young,
Yeah,
but a
yeah.
younger coach. How did that feel?
Now, the journey with Ernesto was one of the most special ones because it shaped me, and I learned so much from it too. And I actually got the opportunity at USC because he was a young kid. He was looking for more hits, better hits. I was a player at USC, but I always wanted to play more. The coach just said this really young kid. He wants to come over in the weekends at like 7 a.m. and you should just play with him. He's really good. And Ernesto was like 14 at the time, and so that's how we got introduced to each other. And time passed by, we always kept hitting and I always kept helping him. And then when I was traveling after school with Stevie Johnson, I always invited him to practice with Stevie when we were in town. So I had him hit with a lot of the pros when we were in town. And then I stopped with Stevie, and then I was like, there were a few opportunities to go with other pros, but then there was also the opportunity. Like I really believed in Ernesto, and also like I was the family, everybody what was doing for him, and I had already kind of a set little academy going. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna help this kid see how far he can go, and he kept become better and better. Started with the futures, and through the use on the tournaments, I met I will call him maybe my mentor, Tom Gullickson, who really helped me out. He said right away, like, if I ever can help you and Ernesto or whatever in the future. And then he did. He took me and Ernesto into the new USTA program. Ernesto, we went from junior. I took him to junior tournaments over the weekends, to futures, to the challengers, and then to winning matches in the slams and making semi-final of ATP. Which I think the most important thing with this journey was also the development with the character, with each other, and all the opportunities that came along.
As you were mentioning, you then get involved with the USTA. I mean, obviously, it's pretty noticeable on how great you become as a player development group. You ended up working with all these amazing players that are now there in the top 100, in the top 50, in the top 10. So many great names. We had, Bjorn Fratangelo here on the podcast. He mentioned the group at the USTA as well there. How great was it for you to work with all these players? And again, a lot of this development group, you don't know how great they're going to become, but seeing all of them flourishing from Marcus to Mackenzie to Taylor, I can only imagine seeing all of this happening. And then same with Bjorn, now even winning Australian Open with Madison. You had that one feeling with Ernesto to start, right? But was it that what kept you going from the perspective of development? Did you really like that aspect of developing the junior into that transition?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Or did you want to?
Yeah, I really liked the transition. Like the program that the USTA created when I started with them, they created a program for all the players, like 250 range to like 100 range. And we had several coaches and several players, and everybody had little groups. This was great because everybody was helping each other, and therefore other coaches would cover their players would practice together. There were all these little groups like the Taylor Fritz, Tommy Paul, Tiafoe, Ryan Harris, so Marcus Duran, Bradley Klan, or this whole group. So everybody got united, and I think that's why became so powerful, and especially for coaches, and especially as a younger coach at the time for myself, it really helped me learn so much about all the different players, all the different coaches that you have interactions with. So that really, I think, helped me in the journey as a coach too.
Yeah. Now, you've worked so much. You were a transition yourself. You try to accomplish that part, and then you're now helping these players transition into their own pro careers. And then, of course, we all see when the transition goes well, but that transition juniors to pros, that being after college to professional, it's not easy, as we all know, from confidence to financial to traveling. There's so much involved into this transition, and it's such a heavy word when we say it. So if you could maybe try to bring like 2 or 3 things that you think is key for this part of transition, what are the things that generally you saw in these players who have succeeded into this transition do it, and also from a coach perspective?
I mean, you look at a lot of the things, and the biggest things that stand out is maybe the character of each individual, because there were some great players there, but maybe not everybody could make it because they couldn't keep up with the work that was needed to put in each day. No, and then some players showed up in the program and they could. So I think a lot comes down, the combination with the talent certain players have, with the hard work, the character, the discipline each player has. But I think that's why it's good if there are little groups pushing each other, small groups, players and coaches. I think that's a great way of looking for that development.
Yeah. Now, with 2020 coming, and we all love to talk about 2020. I think a lot of people's lives got turned around or changed or evolved, whatever we want to call it. But you made a big decision. One, decided to move your academy back to the Netherlands, back home. How was that decision? I'm sure it wasn't a easy decision, but was that something that drove you to, like, did you want to go home?
Nah, it was a big life decision to make for the family and for personal life. After almost 11 years in the US, and especially the last 6 years of that, I was like maybe doing like 35, 38, 36 tournaments a year almost. I was always chasing my journey as becoming a really good coach. And I also felt like at some point I need to think about my family, and also maybe my own personal life is what I want in the future. And then I felt like my family life or that personal life is going to be uh, in Holland. So that's why in that period in 2020, with COVID hit, and there was the opportunity um, to go back to Holland also to work for the Dutch Federation. It was a great opportunity, and all the pieces came together, and I decided to make that move.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about the work that you did with the Dutch Tennis Federation. You assisted in the Davis Cup, some of the Billie Jean King ties. What did you learn there? How was that experience? Are you still working with the Dutch Federation?
Not currently working with them. I've been closely in touch with them and working with one of the best Dutch players right now. I'm always in touch with them, but not working for them right now.
I'm going to ask you, how do you actually say his name before I butcher again?
Botic Van de Zandschulp. It's Zandschulp, probably really hard to pronounce for, and he
Zandschulp.
yeah,
All right,
almost.
Zandschulp. So Botic, I'm sorry for doing this to your name, but Peter did give the right pronunciation here. But I mean, with Botic, you've been different times with him, different times of his career, from times that he was outside top 60 to 20. And we talked about the player development, the transition. And now you get to really the top of the cream where everyone wants to get, that top 100. How hard is to move within that top 100? Right? Like we talked about moving from 500 to the top 300 to the top 200. And then once you're in the top 100, I mean, I don't think people realize sometimes you see someone going from 500 to 120, someone that stays on that 80, 70, 60, but then you're just, wow, that person, is not getting any better. But talk about how hard it is just to
I
be there and
I
stay
think
there.
to be around that ranking, you need to become better and better every month, every year, because if you're not getting better, you're gonna lose the ranking. You're gonna get out of the top 100, because I really feel like the game is getting better. All the players are getting better. The players are getting even more athletic. He is improving. Everybody's even playing more tournaments now. It's just such a hard competition, especially around that ranking space. And a lot of the players are in that ranking space is in the big ATP events. Every match is a big match, because every either first or second round match you're potentially playing like a top 30 player in an ATP event. So you're always ready for like a big match. It's such a different world than growing into the futures or challengers, where you maybe have that level to win easy rounds. On the ATP level, the easy rounds, that's maybe sometimes for the Sinner or for Alcaraz, or even for them, there are no easy rounds.
Yeah. Before we get into, I want to get definitely on the strategy, scheduling, and so forth, the Botic. But talk to us, how did that partnership start? Did it happen that you were back home and he was looking for someone, and how it has developed over time? You guys have gone together, been together, come back together. Tell us, how's that? How did it start, and how's it going? How it developed?
So when I went back to Holland, mainly for the family, etc., I started to work with the Dutch Federation, where he was already part of that program. So that's how I got to know him. And I was not mainly responsible for just him. I was responsible for a whole group of players and a bunch of things in the federation. But one of my things was looking out mainly for him and Greek sports practices in that first year I was working for the federation. And then they had their traveling coach, and then a few weeks a year the traveling coach couldn't go, and then I would step in. So that's kind of the first connection we had as a player and a coach. And then he was just with the federation, and after he made a run of the US Open, he was ready to go private. Talked, and then I went private with him. I didn't work for the federation anymore. So then we had our first year and a half. We both went our separate ways for a little bit, and then we just went back last May, and now we are here. It's a good period of time again. You know how it is on the tour. It's coach, player. There's a lot of, and that's the interesting part too. There's lots of ups, there's lots of downs, because there's some winning, there's a lot of losing on the ATP tour. That's the hard part, because the Sinners and the Alcaraz, they win a lot, but most guys on the ATP tour, they're not winning every week 4 matches. So you gotta put that all in perspective. But it's all about that. The journey is all about that process, and that's the best thing about the coaching life.
Oh, talk about, I mean, you just talked about Alcaraz. What were your thoughts when Botic did beat Alcaraz at the US Open?
Yeah, I mean, it was an amazing match. He showed what he can do, and he has shown that before. And I really believed he had a chance. I mean, he played really well that night. And it was funny, the night before I was watching the interview with James Blake, and it was about the upcoming match the next day, and he was mentioning how Alcaraz should win this easy because he's athletically so much better than Botic in his movement and etc. But then I was thinking, I don't know, you probably haven't watched Botic much, because he's gonna match Alcaraz movement in this match, and he can maybe even do more. So and he did that night. So it was that was amazing too, that he really performed what he can.
Yeah. And those are the things that when you know the insights and everything, it's such a great ability to connect, because I think these are the parts that the coaches, you all know so much about these players and the strategy, much more than a lot of people that are out there talking about them, right? I also want to bring up, and I'm gonna go into the Australian Open in Monfils. I loved when they asked him about, like, is your dream to win? And he talks about, no, my dream is to have a good family, to raise a good child. And I think you brought this up a lot, right? Like how important family is for you. And you actually worked with Gael alongside Tilstrom. How was that? Because I think, a lot of people see Monfils as this great personality, but also he was such a great player. He is such a great player. I'm sure that he also works very hard. But what were the things when you were working with Gael and Michael there that you learned, that you saw
Yeah.
in him?
Now, first of all, it was a great opportunity to be part of that team and to work alongside Michael and help out Michael with Gael. You know, to see Gael. Not everybody sees that, and even me beforehand was not expecting it as much. But Gael can really, really, really work really hard to practice. This was great to see. But he knows what he wants, and that's what he tells in the interviews too. He knows what's important. So the time he spends on the practice court, he knows it's the time to work, and he really can put the right work in. It was great to see how open-minded he is. But most important was to see the open-minded on the court for different views from Michael and myself, and everything outside the court. We both had the kid at exact the same time, so he knows how important it was for both of us. But for him, was also it's about that everybody feels good. It's not every day you're gonna win the practice set, or you playing unbelievable, or you win the next match. No, it's about everybody is there for each other and everybody's looking out for each other, and that was great to see, and also great to learn from such a top player.
Yeah, I'm transitioning to now talking about finding ways to be focused on the things that you have to be focused on the right time. You had to skip Australian Open for a very good reason. And as we mentioned in the beginning, you and your wife recently welcomed your second child, spend time with your family. Now you're back traveling on tour. Being a father, having a family, and also being a coach on the tennis industry, it's not easy, right? Like the tennis tour goes for 40 weeks out of the year. How do you set expectations with your family, with Botic? I'm not sure you'll be able to explain if it's that easy, but I think a lot of people can relate to this.
Yeah, and I think it's hard because it's a professional sport. You know, everybody is demanding a lot, but most important is is the family. So I could not do this if I didn't have the support of my wife, or like my parents that are helping out with the kids at home a lot, and the parents of my wife. If they weren't able to provide help, then it's so hard to do this. And then next to that is like, how is this going to work for the player? Because that's the most important thing. You're servicing the player. So I can tell the player, hey, you're going to play 30 tournaments. I'm not going to be able to do 30 tournaments. The player needs to make a decision, because if the player wants a coach for 30 tournaments and all their practices, then I need to be straightforward that I can't do it. So that's where you come together. Okay, what do we need? And you see this more and more now on the ATP Tour too, that there are teams with several coaches, or for example with Gael, I helped Michael as well. But and now with Botic, we added another coach as well, Freddie Hammes, which has been great help to the team. And I think it's just the understanding of every role that each individual brings into the team is really important, and also the expectation from the player, the coach, and everybody surrounded by that. It's important that there's a lot of open communication about it. Everybody has one goal, that the player does really well, and that everybody is feeling good with their family or with their personal life. So yeah, it's all about taking care of each other.
Yeah, awesome. As you said, open communication, and I think you said setting the expectations so that people know, what you expect out of you, and I think that's a great part of it. Now, you've had so many different experiences, from playing, from being a great junior, going to that transition from junior to pro, then going to college, thinking about if you're gonna go pro or not, being a college coach, being a tour coach, being a development coach, having your own academy, sort of like you're ticking all the boxes here. Now, thinking about also your two kids, you have two young kids, and also you have all this experience. What do you think are the things that you can improve as far as coaching goes, so then in 20 years or in 15 years, when your kids, maybe if they do decide to play tennis, or maybe they're going to be playing golf, what are the things that can be improved in coaching in tennis?
Not the easiest question to like just straight answer, I think, but yeah, on top of my head or thinking right now, I would say there's so much to learn from a lot of different people. But I think as a kid, if my kids grow up and they play different sports, I think it's important for them to learn from all the people they get to know as their coaches, but also know their own, once they get older and older, also create their own thinking that they always respect the people and the coaches they might work with, but also keep thinking themselves of what they want to do out there, how they want to do it, and with the respect of a coach. But I think it's really important that 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 nowadays, you also can be thinking of yourself out there. And like I said earlier, when I had to go to college, you had to take ownership of yourself. In the tennis matches, or when you're on the on the golf course, all these guys, at the end of the day, you have to do it yourself. So you cannot rely on the coach hitting the ball for you or whatsoever. So I think that's going to be really important growing up. And my kids, I hope they do, they're going to play sports, that they grow up in different group environments and things like that. And yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, now let's talk about old Peter talking to the young Peter. One question we always ask the coaches, and if you heard our podcast, you maybe have prepared this answer already. With all the experience that you've received throughout the years, what advice would you give to yourself, to the younger Peter, and how old would be the younger Peter when he would be receiving this advice?
Yeah, so probably the advice I would give the younger Peter when he was like 28, 29 is there's maybe more than a tennis court alone. Enjoy the tennis court as much as you can, but also know there's a lot more than that. There's other people that are there that are doing a lot of stuff for you that you need to be taken care of, etc. So that's maybe something to the younger Peter.
Man, come on, 28, 29, that was what? A year ago.
Or
2
yeah,
years
but maybe
ago.
those, like maybe 10 years, 25, 26. I mean, maybe those years. Yeah.
That's good. No, that's a good one. All right, we're gonna head into our last 10 questions here. And on these 10 questions, I'll ask you to try to answer with the least amount of words possible. If you can, with one, if not, with a couple. Okay, so the first one is one word to describe yourself as a person.
Active.
One word to describe yourself as a coach.
Energetic.
What are you most proud of in life?
Having 2 kids and a family.
What are you most proud of in tennis?
That I'm enjoying it every single day.
What's your current dream?
Dreaming that I can help the players that I can work with and be and having the best time I can have with my family.
What do you consider yourself an advocate for?
Advocate for showing good character on and off the court.
An athlete or coach you look up to?
I always loved watching Ferrero and Hewitt. Those were my favorite athletes.
Do you have a sport or a team you keep up with?
Ajax soccer.
Do you have a favorite book or podcast that you would recommend to anyone to read or listen?
And now I'm listening to the Nothing Major with Stevie, Sam, John, and Jack a lot, and the ones from Andy Roddick, you guys, and then we have a Dutch podcast as well, tennis podcast. So mainly I listen to those on the flights a lot.
No, Nothing Major is a good one. It's a good one. And to wrap up, what's a quote, philosophy, or mantra that you like or that you live by?
In the coaching, I don't know, but I think all the players that I work with are really identifying the game that the player has combined with the character they have and see how to implement that in their game style back on the court. I think that's the most challenging thing as a coach.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Peter, for joining us. Especially, I know it's late where you are and traveling between tournaments. It's never easy. I love your your positivity, your energy. It's just bringing so many different perspectives about the tennis world. Everyone we speak to about it, they are always you're one of the nicest guys around. So I think that people will be able to listen and see and look, we wish all the best to the newcomer in the family. Also, good luck on the tour now with Botic. Appreciate you coming in and have fun.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And thank you everyone for listening. Please follow Peter Lucassen here on his family adventures as well as his tennis adventures now. And make sure you follow us on social media at Unboxed Sports. Thank you all and see you next time.